Welcome to Beginnings and Breakthroughs. This is where I celebrate and coach people just like you who are on a mission to heal their metabolisms, feel better fast, and live their best lives. We will be walking through what's worked for them and what they've discovered on their journeys, and then I'll coach them on their next best steps. And if you're interested in being a guest, stay tuned and I'll be sharing how you can join me too. All right, I will be right back with our awesome guest. I am super excited to introduce Laura to you. Laura had found the Virgin Diet. She grew up a junk food junkie. We were sharing our mutual, I grew up eating Pop-Tarts and Captain Crunch. There, now you know my dirty secret. And so she really had no clue what eating healthy was like. And she went on the Virgin Diet, changed everything, and then kept refining it over the years, which she'll share how she's done that. And so now she's got this great foundation laid, but some shifts happened, sounds like probably because of menopause, could have been because of thyroid, to her cholesterol levels. So we're digging into what you need to do to really identify your challenges with cholesterol, where it's coming from, what the problems are, how much at risk you are. And then we're also looking at shifting her exercise a little bit, because you'll hear her obsession with pickleball. So some simple tweaks, again, the little hinges that swing big doors, we're making here that will make a big change in her. And so I'm excited to introduce Laura to you. And by the way, if you would like to either be on the program where I will coach you, or you're shy and you would like to just submit what's going on with you and then I can address it, either one works well, right? We're all in, wherever you are, meet you where you're at. All you need to do is go to jjvirgin.com/sign up. And we will be in touch with you. All right, hang on and I will bring Laura on.
Adobe Firefly is the all-in-one creative studio with AI-powered image and video editing for today's creative process. Built for creators of every kind, Firefly helps you generate, edit, and experiment fast. Because the asks aren't getting smaller, the budgets aren't getting bigger, and the timelines, still tight. With all the best creative AI models in one place, Firefly brings your ideas to life. Unlock a better way to make with Adobe Firefly.
Suffering from dry, tired, irritated eyes? Don't let dry eyes win. Use Sustain Pro. It hydrates, restores, and protects dry eyes for up to 12 hours. Sustain Pro. Triple action dry eye relief.
All right, Laura, welcome to the show. Super thrilled to have you with me.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
So I read all your stuff, and it looks like I have helped to recover a junk food junkie.
Yes, absolutely. I grew up in a household where we really did not eat the healthiest of foods.
Like what? What was it like?
Oh, well, devil dogs before dinner and Twinkies and cupcakes and, just anything that was really quick and easy to grab. I think I met somebody once who said that I was on a Pop-Tart diet because
wow. Well, what people don't know, Laura, about me is that my nickname growing up was Poppy. Oh, and it was Poppy, not for the flower. I was growing up in California. Nope, it was not for the California Poppy. It was for the Pop-Tarts, because I ate Pop-Tarts for breakfast every morning if I wasn't having Captain Crunch. So isn't it like somehow we survived this?
Yes.
But, all right, so you did that. And at what point did that all seem to catch up with you?
Well, it was really after I had my children that I started to lose control of my weight. And I continually gained, and I wasn't as active as I had been in my earlier years. So I wasn't able to keep up with it. So I started to really gain a lot of weight at that time. And I didn't have the tools that I needed in order to figure out how to deal with it, because I didn't know what I didn't know. Mm-hmm. Having grown up, the way that I did.
And it is one thing that I think, I get parents that go, how do I help my kids eat healthy? I go, you eat healthy. It's,
Yeah,
and what you're showing is just an example of that. Like, if you eat healthy, that's what your kids know. And sure, they might go and get like some ice cream or pizza here and there, but if the majority of it's healthy, that's what they're used to. That's what they go for, right? So exposure
absolutely.
equals preference versus if you're used to Pop-Tarts and Captain Crunch, it's a different story. So, so I know that you found the Virgin Diet and that like helped you get through this. What happened as you went through that program? What did you learn?
Well, what I learned was that the I actually was attracted to the Virgin Diet because it was an elimination diet, and I felt that there was probably some foods that were not agreeing with me, and I did not know how to go about doing an elimination diet until I read your whole book, and it just made so much sense. So I was so geared up after reading the book that I couldn't wait to start, and I started. I followed it to the letter. For 21 days, I dropped all 7 high five foods, and I lost, I think, like, had to be 15, 20 pounds, maybe even more than that.
Holy
And
smokes.
yeah, and the thing was, I do remember in the first week, I think I lost like 8 pounds,
Yeah, and
which was
here
pretty
here
dramatic.
it is. When I used to work a lot with people one on one, I'd kind of score their diet going in, and my thinking was, well, if they're getting a D, like if we can just bump them to a B, it's going to be miraculous. And that probably was what happened there. Is you were so used to eating all this processed food and inflammatory food, it was like your body just went, whoa.
Oh, absolutely. And my energy level skyrocketed. It made a huge difference in my energy level as well. And then I started going through each of the different foods and reintroducing them into my diet. And I did have reactions to them, and really strange reactions. And but I did learn how my body was reacting to them and realized that it does make a difference.
Yes.
So that helped me actually to continue to stay on it and go through, the maintenance phases and continue with it, was because I started to realize how much the food was affecting me.
Nice. And that is really the point of it. Like, I would love to get into our diet culture that you use a diet short term therapeutically to learn things, to learn what works for you, what doesn't. You might find that the diet didn't work for you. That's great. That's information you store in and go, oh, like, and eating a low fat 6 times a day diet doesn't make me feel good, like, or whatever the information is. So it is really connecting those dots. So now you're here. And take us up to like, where are you now and where do you want to go from here? Like, what are your next big goals or concerns?
Okay, well, beyond the first time that I did start the diet, which was well over 10 years ago, I did bounce around a little bit with my weight. And
You mean you're human?
yes. So every time, like I found myself at a higher weight and I started to feel unhealthy, I would jump back onto the Virgin Diet and start over again. And it was the easiest thing for me to do because I already knew how to do it. But every time I did it, I improved on what I did last time. So I was able to find more foods that were working for me, and I would learn more about what I could and couldn't eat, how much of it I could eat to maintain, etc. So it's been a gradual learning experience over the years. And at this point, I have found that, I'm able to pretty much maintain. I have a much better idea of what I'm eating, but there are some challenges that, I come up against where I have a high cholesterol right now. I need to
Now,
lower
is
that.
that new, your high cholesterol?
That is fairly new, yes. And I am working on getting more fiber into my diet, but in some ways, I'm not even sure how to do that because,
Yeah, we'll talk
the
about
traditional
this.
methods are very small amounts of fiber, and it just doesn't make enough of an impact.
Well, and that's not going to be the only thing. That's not the only thing.
Oh,
When did
good.
your cholesterol shift and like what else shifted?
Um, Actually, like all of my other blood work seemed fine. It
How
was
old are
really
you?
just the cholesterol. I'm 58.
Okay, so did it shift when you went through menopause or did it
Yes,
shift before?
actually, I think that that had a lot to do with it because I just went through menopause and it was about 6 months later that my cholesterol was
Yes.
high.
There are two things that could be at play here, and then I'm going to give you the actual labs you're going to want to look at, and I'm going to give you some very specific things to do. So, there's two big levers that can impact your cholesterol if it's been fine and then all of a sudden it's wonky. One is your thyroid function. If you're hypothyroid, and by the way, if you're doing traditional lab markers, you can be hypothyroid and look like your normal range because they're basing it off of, an average population, and only 5% of our population in the United States is metabolically healthy. So you can see the problem there. So you've got low thyroid function can absolutely will start to raise your cholesterol and specifically raise LP little a, ApoB, which we're going to talk about those markers as what's important to look at. The other thing that can raise cholesterol is when your estrogen drops. So if you aren't doing bioidentical hormone replacement and you go through menopause, you will see that your cholesterol may go up. And if it does, then we have to, because that's what I always want to know. Is this a change in diet? Was there a lot of stress, a change in lifestyle? Did you go through menopause? Is there anything going on with your thyroid? Those are all the things that can impact, right? Because first we want to know why this has happened. Now, we can tighten up your diet, and there's some things I'm going to teach you on that. But I also would look at making sure, checking your thyroid, and then really looking at your cholesterol profile and some specific numbers going to give you, because it's going to really unpack that number. Because a total cholesterol to me is like looking at total weight. If someone's weighs 120 pounds and they're 30% body fat, they aren't healthy. If someone weighs 120 pounds and they're 20% body fat, a female, they've got a good body composition. They'll be more likely to be healthy, right? The person with the 30% higher body fat, more likely to be inflamed, insulin resistant, etc. So I use that as an example because if we just used a scale weight, we're really not getting the answers. If we just use total cholesterol, I have no idea. If your total cholesterol was 250 and of the LDLs, they're big and fluffy, and that you've got a lot of HDLs that are big and fluffy, then you probably are okay and you're not plaquing. But you've got to know what it's made up of, right? Now, most likely you've got some issues because 250 as an overall cholesterol is just a high number, right? But here are the things you really want to look for. You want to look for these specific lab tests, and you want to ask your doctor for them because they are, because of your elevated cholesterol, you should be able to get this through. If not, I like to use yourlabwork.com because they do direct-to-consumer testing, and so it's way less cost, right? And so the numbers I would look at are ApoB, LP little a, PLA2. These are all going to help you see how sticky, plaquey, and small your cholesterol particles are. Are they the bad ones wreaking the havoc in your system? Then you want to look at homocysteine. And this is really a marker of more of your B vitamin status to see if you've got this toxic level of homocysteine that can contribute to heart disease. And you also want to look at something called HSCRP. That's really how inflamed are you. And then a triglyceride to HDL ratio. This is the stuff that's really going to paint the picture of what's going on. Then you're going to look at that and go, and then along with that, you want to look at your thyroid by looking at your TSH, free T3 and T4. Because if your thyroid's low, it's mildly hypothyroid. And I will tell you, Laura, mine was just under 2, and my cholesterol shot up. I got constipated. Like all this stuff happened with just a mild elevation in my TSH, slight hypothyroidism. So that's the first one. And then obviously you've gone through menopause, so your estrogen's lower. And so if we can add in some estrogenic foods, my favorite of all being flax seeds, that can be helpful too. So that's the first step with that. Now, the other, what can impact cholesterol besides low thyroid, low estrogen? Stress is also a driver, and diet and exercise. Doing the right type of, doing good exercise can raise HDL. Eating more fiber can raise HDL. And then getting rid of damaged seed oils and what I call dirty processed foods and sugar can lower LDL. So what we have to look at first, and I would recommend the next diet for you is sugar impact diet, because that's where we tackle where's sugar sneaking into your food. And in my next book, I'm really taking on damaged seed oils, but I'm going to give it to you now to see. And then one other test you should look at is something called the ApoE4. What we do need to find out is, are you someone that does better with more or less fat? Because sometimes genetically, and I'm one of those people, we shouldn't have as much fat, and especially saturated fat, and it will drive up your LDL. Now, since it seems like it happened post-menopause, I'm more likely to look at it as an estrogen or thyroid issue. However, we may have to do all the other things to support it at this point. But if it's a thyroid issue, then you'll need to fix your thyroid, probably supplement with a thyroid glandular or an actual compounded thyroid. If it's an estrogen issue, besides bioidenticals, you can do, again, that flaxseed and some of the phytoestrogens you can get in food. I really love flax. It's like my favorite. So there's the options for that. But again, if we start to look at sugar impact diets, the step after the virgin diet that starts to now really look, is sugar sneaking into your food? Where is it sneaking in? How do we lower that? And I'd combine that with, where are any damaged seed oils? Damaged seed oils being canola, corn, safflower, sunflower, soybean, vegetable oil. And it's easier to focus on what you should be having, not what you can't have. What I want you to really focus on is extra virgin olive oil, and it can be super helpful for cholesterol as well. And then getting good, clean fish and getting the fat from those fish and taking fish oil. Coconut potentially, but it really depends if you're one of those people who has a trigger of saturated fat raising cholesterol that may not be good for you, might be something you have to limit. And then avocado oil. So I will cook with avocado oil. I use extra virgin olive oil on my salad. I make sure I get a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil in every day. That can be helpful here. But really make sure that, and I say this because so many of these posing health foods. And, we're working on the next iteration of the virgin diet right now. It's going to be called Swap to Drop. And as we've gone through all these products, and I call them, posing as health foods, because they will say no sugar added, and they used apple juice concentrate, which is one of those things that will absolutely wreak havoc on, cardiovascular markers. And then they'll have things like canola oil in them. And so we've got to really watch and make sure you're not buying products that look like they're healthy but really aren't, because they have these things in them. So that's the big thing there. So that's what to look for diet-wise. And again, thyroid, estrogen, adding phytoestrogenic foods, of which my favorite is going to be, I just do a smoothie every day and I add freshly ground flaxseed meal into it, 2 tablespoons. And it's a 1-2 hit, because not only did I get the phytoestrogens from the flax, I also got the healthy fats from the flax, I also got the fiber from the flax. So it's like, trifecta. So that's one thing that you can add in there too. And then again, let's do sugar impact diet, make sure we don't have sugar, ultra-processed food sneaking in, and get rid of those seed oils. That's where I would really focus. And we have to see what that cholesterol is made up of, because fiber tends to, it helps you detoxify some of the LDL. Antioxidants are important here too, because they help prevent it from oxidizing. So, that's where a good solid multivitamin mineral antioxidant formula can come in and help. And also something we're about to launch with our menopause formula. I actually think we just launched it. We have a menopause support formula that's got CoQ10, very cardioprotective, Annatto EGG, that actually can help with bone health, estrogen, testosterone, but also is cardiovascular protective and a great antioxidant. And then DIM, which helps detoxify bad estrogen. So that could be something that you could add in. We just got it. I think it's in the store. Like, it's just got, like, we did a trial last year where we put like 30 women on it to see, like, I was like, before I bring this out, these are things I use every day, but let's see what they think. And, you know, they noticed their mood, their energy, reduction in like inflammation, hot flashes, like, okay, all right, that works. So those are the first things. Now, that's the diet to support the lowering the cholesterol, really monitoring it to know what you're looking for. Now I'm going to give you the next thing, and doing SID, because you're a really good program follower, so like that makes it easy. And really, I wrote Virgin Diet, and the biggest question I got after that was, well, what about sugar? And I'm like, that's when I wrote Sugar Impact Diet comes after the Virgin Diet, and it helps you really identify how you feel best in terms of how much carbohydrate you have, how you make sure you're getting carbohydrate as close to nature as possible, that doesn't have added sugars, that it's got more fiber, and really knowing how to incorporate that. So that's what that was built to do. So it's great for heart health, cholesterol, blood sugar, diabetes, all that. As far as your body composition, because I know that you do pickleball. I have a pickleball court, by the way, outside my house.
Oh, do you
we share a private street with the neighbors, and my neighbor was a big tennis player, and she is a pickleball player. So we actually have I still haven't played. I was like, okay, it's too hot right now, but I'm gonna take it up this winter. So tell me about your exercise plan, and I'm gonna augment that.
Well, at the moment, I recently found pickleball, and it's become an addiction for me. So I've been playing probably 6 days out of the week, about 3 hours a day.
Holy smokes! Now, it's a double sport, right? Or
Yeah.
is it singles? Okay.
It can be singles also, but I typically play doubles. And but beyond that, I mean, I used to walk a lot, but not nearly the same amount of exercise as I'm getting from this. But I don't do any kind of weightlifting. I don't do really anything other than pickleball. And I'm not sure that that's a very balanced way to.
All right. So there's two things I'd love you to do. Number one is I'd love you to get a body composition scale. And the one I really like, Tanita has one. I think we have it on our website on the resources, because it's like $99 and it tells you your body fat, your fat-free mass. So basically on our body, we have two main components. We have fat, we have everything else. So what you're gonna look at is how much of your body is the everything else, and what you can change in the everything else is how much muscle you have. So we want to make sure as you're aging, if you're not using it, you're losing it. And like the single worst, now you've been active your whole life and very sporty, so you're in luck. But as we age, lifting weights becomes super duper important. Like we've got to be able to hold on to that muscle, right? And build it. And it also is a little more forgiving. Like it's, muscle helps us improve insulin sensitivity. It sucks carbs into it to be stored as energy for later. It can only suck so many, so it doesn't mean you can go have a bunch of pie. But, it does help there with better glucose tolerance. It protects our bones. It boosts our metabolic rate. So it's super important. And the way we need to build muscle as we age is we need to make sure we have enough protein in our diet. And so that is going to be the very least amount of protein you would want to have. Let's say if you were a 120-pound woman, the least amount, your absolute floor, would be 0.5 gram per pound of weight. And that's like the least amount if you were doing some fasting or something, 60 grams of protein. What you really want to strive for is more around the 1 gram per pound of body weight, and hitting sometime between 3/4 of a gram to 1 gram per pound of body weight. If you're really working on building muscle, you'll want to be around more on the 1 gram per pound of body weight. And that is not your current, that is where you want your body weight to be. What's interesting about body weight is quite often we sit there and we look at weight. But I find for most people, they might need to lose some body fat, but what they really need to do is shift the composition. They need to lose fat, build muscle. If you build muscle, it's more metabolically costly. It requires more energy to be turned over on your body and kept. It's not something that just stays there inertly. Your body has to always be breaking it down and rebuilding it. and it takes a lot to do that. So it's more costly. It's also more costly to recover from like anaerobic type of exercise than it is from, say, a walk. So it's really more costly to do that, and that's great for our metabolism, right? When people say, I want to boost my metabolism, I'm like, do weight training. Just weight training alone will do it, and putting on more muscle changes your metabolic rate all throughout the day, all day, and it makes you more glucose tolerant, more insulin sensitive, which will improve your cholesterol, right? So the weight training thing is going to be really, really important. So the question is, do you want to go to a gym? Do you want to do it at home? How do you want to accomplish it?
I would prefer to do it at home.
So I'll tell you some of the things that I love, I have a home gym, but I discovered something I like even more than a lot of the stuff I have in the home gym. And it's great because you can basically create a home gym like at any budget. If you have a budget of $100, you can get a TRX trainer and you're good. If you can spend $200, then get a big fitness ball and a couple free weights and go up from there. And what I love to do, the TRX trainer can hang from a tree. I've got one outside on the tree and one inside on the wall, and you can do squats, assisted squats, and lunges, and chest presses, and rows, all sorts of stuff with it. And it's literally like this $120 pulley system. So I love that, and you can just go online, and you can get, like go to YouTube and look up TRX training exercises. And then also Deborah Atkinson of Flipping 50 has a stronger program where she basically in 12 weeks works you through how to build muscle. So that is another one. We'll make sure we put that in the show notes. And that's easy to do at home, easy things you can work out at home and do. Because muscle as we age is the most important thing that we can do. You've got the cardiorespiratory thing down with the pickleball. Now you just need to add in the resistance training. Right?
That sounds great.
Easy peasy, right? I mean,
Yes.
here's the thing.
Yes.
You have a great place to take off from because you know how to follow Virgin Diet. So now you're just going to do the same with Sugar Impact Diet. We really need to dig into those tests because clearly something else is at play. But it's easy enough to monitor and modify based on, is it thyroid, is it estrogen, is it just some diet stuff? So we tweak the diet, we tweak the exercise, and then we look at the hormones, because if your thyroid's low, everything you do not want to have that happen. And then changing the exercise, because if you change the exercise and you build more muscle, it is going to impact all of these things. Now, you said you wanted to lose 10 more pounds. Can you walk me through what a typical day is like for you food-wise? And what time do you wake up? What time do you go to bed? And when do you eat?
Okay, so I would typically wake up at about 8 a.m. I have a virgin shake.
When do you have the shake?
Well, it depends because I do some intermittent. So some days I'll have it at 10 a.m. and some days I wait till noon.
Okay.
And when I wait till noon, then I just have one more meal in the evening at about 4:30 or 5 o'clock.
Oh, I love that. So some days you do a time restricted window of like 6 hours.
Yes.
Great.
And then other days I'll do 3 meals. So I'll have a shake at 10, and then I'll have a light lunch at 2 o'clock, and then I'll eat maybe at 6.
Oh my goodness, you're like my dream pupil. And then on those intermittent fasting days, that's where you kind of go, I make sure I get my floor of protein 60, but if I can build up for there, even better. And in the morning smoothie, and I think you're using the paleo inspired, which I'd be hoping you would do, because that's going to help you more, because it's got branched chain amino acids in it. It's got some collagen. It's from bone broth protein, but I would also advise getting the collagen and adding that too. Okay. Because it's going to be really helpful for helping you recover from exercise. It's great for hair, skin, and nails. It increases the protein. So that's another one that I would throw in there, along with those 2 tablespoons of flaxseed meal. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. So what is your typical lunch and dinner?
Okay, so typical lunch. Well, when I do eat lunch, I will have usually like leftovers from dinner. So I might have like a small piece of chicken, about 4 ounces. I'll have some salad with it. Um, just some kind of vegetables because I try to stay away from too much potatoes or starches or rice. At night for my dinner, I do have maybe about a quarter of a cup of rice or potatoes, along with a lot of like broccoli. I've been getting into sprouts lately, so I've been eating a lot more sprouts and microgreens.
Great. Are you eating broccoli sprouts?
Yes,
You
yes.
hit the home win, home run, winner, winner.
I've been putting them in my shakes.
Gosh, you are so like, I bow to you. So I actually am having my son make them for me, grow them for me. And just for anyone not listening, not aware of what broccoli sprouts are, they're like broccoli on massive steroids in terms of the amount of sulforaphane in them. So they're definitely something you want to incorporate, and you can make them, grow them at home. They take 5 days, which is the easier way to do it because they're expensive in the store. Or even better, have your son do it for you. So there you go. All right, so that looks good. And then, so you're upping your veggies. Are you getting at least 5 servings of vegetables in a day, hopefully more?
I do try to. I think there are some days where I might be a little shy, but I try to add them into my shakes because I know that it's really easy to get, at least an extra serving of vegetables in my.
So if you can get an extra serving in your shake, and even if you're just having your shake in a dinner, easy enough to do. My latest addiction is arugula, and I finally got my husband to like it, which is a huge thing. And we just got back from Italy, so we're like arugula and olive oil and sea salt, and we're good. But like add in 2 to 3 cups of deep green leafies with a little extra virgin olive oil, and you're set, along with your broccoli or Brussels sprouts or cauliflower or whatever that you have with it for dinner.
I really love kale chips. So that's sort of a replacement for me with any kind of potato chips.
All right, well, hold on. Okay. Those kale chips, are you making those kale chips?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay.
I grow the kale in my yard, and then
Of course you do. You're the best. You're the best, Laura. So no, because you can get those kale chips in the store, and I'm like, I had to buy them once. I saw the chocolate chip kale chips. I'm like, okay, I have to buy these just because it's so ridiculous, because it's like 5 calories of kale chips, and then it's all the processed oils and chocolate, and I'm like, eat a piece of dark chocolate, have some kale. Do not do this together. So you're making them yourself. Awesome. It's still not going to get you, tons of vegetables. Let's be honest. Like that's still not getting you. Maybe you get a cup or 2 when you do your kale chips.
I don't know. I fill up a whole pan and I eat the whole thing. So
okay, cool. So maybe you get like 2 cups there. So that's great. So ideally, I always say the floor is 5 cups of vegetables, and that would be a half cup cooked or a cup raw. So most likely the kale, like you could put a cup of raw, and it probably comes down to like a little bit. So you might even be getting 4 cups in there. So roast away, especially if you're putting a little bit of avocado oil there, because that'll help you really absorb more of the nutrients from the deep green leafies. That would be helpful. And that'll help.
Really? Yep. So the avocado oil is better there than the extra virgin olive oil, you think?
I don't like to cook with extra virgin olive oil. I do not cook with it. I cook with avocado oil, the heat points.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to mark that down because that's really good advice. I didn't realize.
And what time do you, so we hit the sleep. So honestly, looking at all of this, it's confirming your hormones and looking at your labs. It's making sure you're getting enough protein. You might need to up your protein a little bit. Adding that collagen in will help, and maybe just instead of a 4-ounce chicken, you have a 6-ounce. And then adding in that resistance training is really your big stuff.
Yes. No, this is great. I'm so excited.
This is doable. I'm so excited too, because I want to hear what happens in 3 months, because we should be able to see some. Now, here's the first thing with resistance training. If you haven't been doing any of it, the first 4 to 6 weeks when you start resistance training is really your body trying to understand what you are doing. And it's neural programming, really, where your muscles are learning how to, they're getting degraded more than they're building up. So the first 4 to 6 weeks, while you'll notice yourself getting stronger, you're not probably going to see a big shift in your body composition scale where you're building muscle. And women do not build muscle easily anyway. So now that menopause pack, the GG in there can help support you building muscle. So that'll be good too, and having more protein. And it may be, you'll have to see, I find most of us, I do it every single meal, not shakes, but just meals, to do better with enzymes that help you break down the protein. We tend to get a little bit of anabolic resistance as we age, so we need a little more protein to overshoot, but because you need to have enough protein to rebuild for the muscles, right? Enough amino acids, and they have a lot of other jobs to do in your body. So give yourself 4 to 6 weeks. At that point, you should start to see some shifts in your body composition, but it's a slow build, right? You have to build muscle. So, if you could, in the course of, 6 months, put on 5 pounds of muscle, 4 pounds of muscle, would be amazing. Like, go you. But a lot of that'll have to do with your hormones as well. So we'll have to see. Even 3 pounds of muscle, it changes everything, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, cool. Then what I want to know is what's happening with you. So please report back.
Okay, I most certainly will.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for playing.
Thank you. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you.
Right.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, lots of great information to share with you on that. So check the show notes for the new menopause packs, the your lab work, and that Tanita scale as well, so you can grab these things, and the TRX, of course, too, and you can follow along at home. All right, and again, if you would like to participate, go to jjvirgin.com/sign up. And if you've not yet subscribed to the show, hello, it's easy. Go to subscribe to jj.com. See you next time.